A Noble Cunning, The Countess and the Tower, by Patricia Bernstein. Chapter 1. No Safe Place. Heath Hall, Scottish Lowlands, 1710. I had gone to bed early and slept soundly until I was awakened by a wild noise of cries and shouts almost under my windows. I rose and peered out. As if one of my most troubled dreams had come to life, at least 100 men were gathered below, waving smoky torches and brandishing pikes and hammers and other tools they had probably seized from our smithy. One night in London, many years earlier, when I was a child of 9, I had witnessed a raucous anti-Catholic parade made up of London rowdies disguised as grotesque parodies of priests and bishops and the Pope. Ever since then, I have feared mobs at night, faces distorted by flickering torchlight. I looked down from my window upon this motley crowd of bedraggled sowers and reapers, my senses assaulted by the sting of smoke and the writhing fingers of flame. For a moment I swayed and felt that I might fall. Gavin, my husband, was many leagues away, politicking in the back street coffee-houses of Edinburgh. How could I face this crowd without him? But I could not fail. I am Bethan Glentaggart, Countess of Clarencfield, a Catholic amid the heathen Protestants, I thought, and must show neither fear nor weakness. Unruly crowds of this kind feed on the terror they engender in their betters. I repressed an involuntary shiver, and vowed to demonstrate that they were dealing with a woman of spirit, in full command of her household, not a mere drawing-room ornament. They would not smell my fear. My heart banged violently in my chest, but I would smooth my features as I had seen my mother do when our family was threatened. The boldest of the leaders, a ragged bunch with tousled hair, mismatched garments, and broken-down shoes, hallooed up at me. "Mistress, you are hiding a Romanish priest, a servant of Satan, and we will have him. Bring him out, or we will come in, as is our right by law." Oh yes, of course, I thought, but did not say, your legal rights are meant to be exercised in the dark of night with a mob at your back against unprotected women and children. My brain, still a little sodden with sleep, churned and brought forth no response for a moment, but then clarity broke through. "Hold there, sirrah! I will come down to you," I cried. I tossed an unlaced gown over my shift and wrapped a cloak over the whole. Leaving my hair loose, I ran down the stairs as the storm of bangings and knockings on the front door grew louder and more insistent. Despite the noise, I paused for an instant at the foot of the stairs to run my hands over my face, trying to forcibly soften lines of worry and subdue the pinch of anxiety around my eyes and mouth. My companion Lucy had also risen. Shocked and pale-faced, she came running to me barefooted. For once, she, almost abruptly jerked from sleep, had no advice to give, but I was beginning to feel more confident that I could maintain at least the outward appearance of a woman who was unruffled by scares in the night, even though my legs were trembling. "I have read this chapter before," I told Lucy. "When I was only 7, soldiers came to our home in Wales for this self-same purpose, hunting an illegal priest. I believe I can manage these vermin as my mother once did. None of these men are fit to kiss the hem of Father Jerome's shabbiest robe." Then Lucy and I looked at each other. She gasped. The fact was, we had been hosting Father Jerome, a secret missionary priest from France, traveling disguised as an itinerant shepherd and sleeping in the sheilings or shepherds' huts used during summer grazing. Somehow the priests who came to Scotland knew where the Catholics were and who would welcome them. Father Jerome, diminutive and elderly, but sinewy and strong enough to climb goat paths from glen to glen, once acknowledged to me that he knew his ultimate fate would be exile, prison, or perhaps death at the hands of a mob. "We all believe that at some point we will be caught, my lady, and we are resigned," he had said with a gentle smile. "When that time comes, I will be grateful for my years spent comforting a scattered and persecuted flock." I had knelt and asked for his blessing. The itinerant priests were the holiest men I ever knew. Father Jerome was supposed to have left us at dusk, but neither Lucy nor I had actually seen him go. He had a way of slipping away into the dark without making a sound. But what if he had not yet left and was still somewhere in the house? I had to hope he would take heed of the commotion and make himself scarce. I could hear the leader of the mob yelling, "We will not give you time to hide. Open this door or we will break it too." I managed to raise the iron latch and pulled open the heavy oak door just in time for him to screech the end of his sentence in my face. "Splinters!" The night was cold. It was close to Christmastide, and, though there was no snow, the wind was sharp. I gathered my cloak more closely around me. This spokesman was of medium height and spindly, his coat torn in half off his shoulders. His long, greasy, gray-brown hair crept back from his forehead as if it were running away from his face, embarrassed by his actions. His linen was soiled, and his jacket sleeves were too short for his knobby-boned wrists. Ah, but he carried a Bible and proceeded to wave it in my face. "And you are?" I asked quietly. He hesitated, perhaps thinking to hide his identity, which was absurd. A shorter, even grimier man standing next to him, this one wearing a shapeless hat jammed almost down to his eyebrows, punched the leader's arm. "Minister Adam Goodnow," the leader declared, and immediately tried to seize the offensive again by brandishing the Bible in my direction. "Bring us the priest and we will trouble you no further tonight. For your priests have violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the unclean and the clean, and I am profaned among them." Ezekiel 22:26, he concluded with an air of satisfaction. "There is no priest here," I said, forcing a calm tone into my voice that I did not feel. "We would bring no man into danger." "Your souls are in danger," he spit at me, "if you follow the whore of Babylon and pursue the Antichrist into darkness." I pushed my palm out towards him, intent on holding it steady. I had to find a way to keep a horde of wild men from rampaging through my home. I remembered that, when the soldiers came to Castle Bonny in Wales when I was 7, my mother took control by telling them they could search for a priest if they left their muddy boots outside. Something about the foolishness of marching up and down stairs in their dirty stockings full of holes took the edge off their eagerness to find the priest. Perhaps I could keep most of these men outside if I gave away just a little. "It is late," I said. "My babies are asleep. I desire you not to wake them. 3 of you, no more than 3, may come in and search the house, if you do it quietly and do not wake the children." It was almost comical to see some of those in the front ranks lower their crude weapons and turn to hush each other. I do not believe they were all wicked men, but the press of the crowd and the heated rhetoric led so many weak souls to doom. Minister Goodnow appointed himself and 2 others of his ilk to undertake the search, Minister Walter Cleves and Minister Joseph McGurk. Cleves was the squat little man with his hat pulled low. Now I knew who they were. I had heard their names before. They were so-called covenant ministers, the most extreme of the Scottish Protestants, who had undoubtedly riled up this mob of dullards to frighten women and children in the dead of night. Minister McGurk, I observed, was unlike the other 2 who, for all their bluster, seemed ready to agree to my proposal that only 3 would enter the house. McGurk was tall and very lean, with a long, thin face, a low forehead, and eyes so close together and crossed towards each other that I silently named him Cyclops. His hair was cropped very short, yet even the stubble somehow managed to look uneven and patchy, as if he was going bald by random sections. With a close-shaven head and no cap, there was a look of a skeleton about him. Something I could not place disturbed me about this man. Goodnow and Cleves seemed to cover up their natural timidity with loud talk. Somehow I did not think that this McGurk was timid. He grinned at me, revealing his brown and broken teeth, but it was not a mirthful smile, rather a gleeful, secretive one, as if he knew something I did not. He had an odd way of carrying his arms raised in front of him, with his hands dangling from the ends of his wrists. His long, bony fingers ended in ragged nails, rimmed in some black, greasy substance like tar. Once I had really noticed him, I shuddered slightly and drew my cloak more closely around me. I wanted this midnight violation of our hearth to be done.